Phineas and Ferb is one of the best and most popular TV shows of all time. It's won 4 Emmys, been nominated for several others, and has a laundry list of awards that it has won. It is near and dear to my heart. They're bringing it back. They're reviving it for new seasons coming to Disney Plus and Disney Channel this summer, and it's become a cultural phenomenon. What makes the show so good? Well, I've broken it down into 9 elements, and I'm going to tell you what makes it so amazing and so iconic. I'm also going to throw in 2 things that I think it could even do better. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so here's the deal. We can't start this list without first talking about the music. Every episode of Phineas and Ferb contains a catchy, well-written, and just absolute banger of a song. These are songs that have become iconic and cultural touchstones. Think about Squirrels in My Pants.
There's squirrels in my pants!
And the phenomenon that became from TikTok. And I bet you if you went into any random store and started singing Gucci Gucci Goo, there would be people around you who knew that song and could sing along in their head. And don't even get me started on Backyard Beach and Roller Coaster from the musical and so many other great songs. Not only are the characters great singers, but there's an entire band, Love Handle, in the show.
Wait, is that Love Handle?
Also, the Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated jingle, which if you want to check out a compilation of every single one of those, check out my video on that. But, I mean, just everywhere you turn, there's a great song. These have stayed with us for years. They help us connect to the story and to the characters, and are just really so important. In fact, I have so many different playlists of Phineas and Ferb songs. There's one for every mood, every emotion, every situation. Whether I want to get pumped, or I just am enjoying a good day, or want to be in my feelings. Heck, there's even an entire Christmas album that we listen to throughout the entire month of December. These songs are really the backbone of Phineas and Ferb. They help draw us in and keep us connected and stay with us throughout our lives. Number 2 is the humor, and not just any kind of jokes, but self-aware humor that really hits for kids and adults alike.
I never built an amnesianator. I think I'd remember building something like that.
In fact, the demographics of the people who watch my videos are mostly between the ages of 18 and 30. These are adults who love Phineas and Ferb and still find it funny because the jokes are not adult jokes in the way that they're inappropriate, but they're adult meaning they're sarcastic and self-referential and meta and just hit so perfectly, but not in a way that goes over the kids' heads. Kids can understand it too, and they engage and they have fun, and it just strikes the perfect balance of talking to adults and appealing to their sense of humor while also bringing the kids in. So it really becomes a great show for watching with your children or just watching by yourself. For example, the character of Doofenshmirtz is basically just one long self-referential joke on the trope of evil scientists and evil villains in movies, where they really play up their big speeches and elaborate traps and plans that are too complicated to understand. He's just a caricature of all of those combined. And so what might seem just like the plot of an evil scientist to a kid who's watching, for example, an adult can see it and realize, wow, this show and their creators are really hitting home how ridiculous some of the villains in other movies and shows can be. The show has a depth of meaning and understanding, and it's just constantly making me laugh. Number 3, the formula. Now, I bet anyone watching this video could help me identify the formula of a Phineas and Ferb episode, right? I've made compilations of several of the famous gags from the show, but essentially what happens is Phineas and Ferb have a great idea. They go and build it. Candace tries to bust them. They have a great time. Candace gets home, isn't able to bust them, comes this close, and meanwhile, Perry is off, goes to Major Monogram, gets his assignment, fights Doofenshmirtz. Doof has some overcomplicated scheme that doesn't end up working. Perry saves the day and returns home, and it's a happy ending. Right, that is a tried and true formula that runs through almost every episode.
Always the same thing every day. The same insane routine.
But what's great about it is not just that it's formulaic in we know what to expect, and there's a sense of familiarity and comfort in the show that brings, but also when it subverts the formula. Because, for example, what happens if the boys get caught and Candace is successful? Well, there's a whole episode on that. And it's one of the most popular episodes of all time because it takes the formula and subverts your expectations. And so that formula, it helps make it be so successful from episode to episode. And then the shows that really knock us dead are times when they flip that on its head or do something different, and it hits hard because of that. Okay, number 4 is very related, but it's the running gags, right? The most famous of all is when Doofenshmirtz doesn't recognize Perry. Perry comes up, Doofenshmirtz goes, "A platypus?" Perry puts on his fedora, and then Doofenshmirtz goes, "Perry the Platypus," and doesn't recognize him until he has the fedora on. In fact, I made a whole compilation video of that. If you want to check it out, it's right here. That is my most popular video by far because it is just a running gag that's taken the internet by storm. People love it, and it's just hilarious. The stupidity or the blindness of Doofenshmirtz to not realize who Perry is, it just hits so hard every time and is never not funny. But that's not the only running gag, right? There's other ones like, "Aren't you a little young?" And then, "Yes, yes, I am." And there's the Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated jingle, and Perry entering his lair, and all these different things. Ferb's line, he has one speaking line an episode, basically. Not all the time, right? There's expectations, like we talked about. Subverting those expectations is part of what makes it engaging. But essentially, there's these running gags that are just hilarious, and they play into the structure, but they also create iconic moments and memes. These gags become part of the very fabric of the show and part of the identity. And let's hone in on that a little bit more. One thing that all great shows do is they hone in on what works and what's really going well. So you'll notice when you watch a TV show that season 1 might be slightly different than season 2, might be slightly different from season 3. And if they're doing it right, hopefully each progressive season gets better in a way where they take what works from the previous season, what people really like, and then they add to it or make more of it or something where they hone in on what the viewers like the most. And Phineas and Ferb does this wonderfully. In fact, in the first episode, Phineas is almost kind of like snarky and almost edges on being rude to Candace.
Mom says I'm in charge conditionally. Whatever.
But by the end, that sibling relationship is so strong. And they realized Phineas didn't need to be a snarky little kid. He was one of the hearts of the show and a genius inventor who loves his family and his friends. And so they quickly pivoted from that. Also, they realized, I think, that Doofenshmirtz was a fan favorite, and Doof keeps getting more and more screen time as the seasons go on, and Agent P likewise. And in fact, you'll notice in the later seasons, a lot of times the plot with Phineas and Ferb is relatively smaller, while the plot with Doofenshmirtz and Agent P or Candace are expanded because they really figured out what worked and then built on that. All right, let's jump into the next one, which again is related. And this is all about the A plot and the B plot. So this is a structure that creatives in television and movies will use to help tell the story, right? So the A plot will be like your main characters, while the B plot is something that's happening at the same time as the A plot, but might be with more secondary characters. And a lot of times they eventually cross over. And that's what helps us as we go back and forth, kind of keep our bearings with what's going on. Dan Povenmire had this to say about the A plot and B plot.
What Phineas and Ferb are doing is not the A story. It's not even really a story. It is just the setting. And what Doofenshmirtz is doing, or what Candace is doing, that's the story. The essence of story is that the characters are changed by what happens to them. Nothing ever changes the boys. They never learn anything. There's never any obstacles they have to overcome. Everything just works out for them.
All right, number 7 is characters, right? We've touched on this in all the other ones, but really characters that we connect with, that we grow to love and grow to understand, are the heartbeat and really the soul of any show, but that's particularly true in Phineas and Ferb. We come to love Ferb's one-liners and his quiet sense of demeanor and stoicism, while Phineas is more of a go-getter and a leader of the kids. And Candace, the crazy older sister who is trying to juggle the life of a teenager while also trying to bust her brothers, but really deep down she loves all of them, and the parents, and really Buford and Baljeet and Isabella and the Fireside Girls and Doofenshmirtz and Carl and Major Monogram and Vanessa and Agent P and all the other agents. There's just so many characters. and we grow to love them. We grow to know them. We learn their backstories, right? Backstories are a huge part of Doofenshmirtz's whole thing, right? As an evil villain, he loves to tell his backstory, and so we really connect with him. We know what makes him tick, and those characters become a part of our lives, and we feel like we know them. And so every new episode feels like another part of our life that we are living in this fictitious world. All right, number 8 is a moral, right? So this really comes down to, it's not as in your face as a show like Mr. Rogers or even Bluey can be, where there's like a moral or a message or a takeaway at the end of the day, but there's subtle themes that are layered through the episodes which help uplift us, right? There's a really strong theme of creation, of innovation, of building, and friendship, and family, and the things that are important in life. And these things, like I said, they don't come out, they don't smack you in the face. There's no one who turns up to the camera and explains the moral of the story at the end of the episode. But by watching it, it's good, wholesome entertainment that helps us realize some of the more important things in life. It teaches us to enjoy the outdoors and to spend less time in front of screens, ironically, because it's a show, but to go out and to do and to build, and being creative really brings joy and friendship and community in neighborhoods. I think the morals of Phineas and Ferb are key to it. All right, there's one last reason, the ultimate reason why Phineas and Ferb is incredible, why it is one of, if not the best animated show of all time. And I'm going to get to that. But first, let's talk about two things that I hope they do different or better in the coming seasons. Two things that I think they could improve upon. Number one is diversity, right? We do have a fairly diverse cast. When we talk about Isabella Garcia Shapiro, she comes from a Hispanic Jewish family. We also have Baljeet from India, and Stacy is of Japanese descent. And so there is a sense of diversity, but I think we could do better in reflecting the world around us and the true diversity of neighborhoods and communities in America and in other countries, where towns are really a melting pot of people from all over the world. And while I think Phineas and Ferb does a good job, and I would rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe a 6 or a 7, I think there is maybe a notch or two where they could stand to have some improvement. But as like I will say, as we get to know the characters, we realize their backstories are richer and deeper than we might have otherwise imagined. Okay, and one other thing that I think they could improve on, but they kind of already have, so I'll just mention it here. In the early seasons, especially the early episodes of season 1, there are several animation, maybe mistakes or oversights, where if you go frame by frame like I do for Easter eggs, you catch things that aren't quite the way they're supposed to be. Maybe someone's face appears twice in one frame, and it's subtle enough to where you don't really notice it while you're watching, but it's something that got cleaned up over the years, and I really like the animation style that they've had more recently with Candace Against the Universe, and that seemed clean and sharp, and I think they're going to keep moving forward with that, but I just thought I'd mention it here. All right, let's get into the number one reason why Phineas and Ferb is my favorite TV show of all time, and it is because it is aspirational. It shows the American dream. It shows that families from different walks of life, right? Ferb with his English roots, Phineas with his American suburban life, their combined family that love each other with neighbors and a community. But not only that, it's about, like I said, going out and doing things. And in so many ways, it's aspirational, where it's not a show that when I watch makes me want to just sit on the couch and watch more. I do because I love the show, but really, in a true testament to itself, it makes me want to get up and do something with my life. It makes me want to be like Phineas and lead people and build things and make a difference and foster these relationships. I remember in the summers when I grew up, I loved to watch cartoons on a hot day and be inside. And I could watch lots of cartoons throughout the day and without really any problem. But I remember watching Phineas and Ferb and then thinking, what am I doing inside? I need to get outside. Let's go out and play. Let's be active and do things. And I think that's a real testament to the show. It helps us in ways that are very subtle but are foundational to the very creation of the show itself. And so in many ways, I hope we can throw off the platypus that might be controlling us, whether it's a corporation or whether it is whatever is controlling us or feels like it's controlling us. So, my hope, and I think the show's main message, its hope, is to help us understand that there is no platypus controlling us. Our teachers, our parents, our corporations, whatever, the government, whatever, there's no platypus controlling us. We can be in charge of our own destiny. We can go out and make a difference and have fun and enjoy life. And that's really central to the show. That's why I love it. And I find so much meaning and purpose in watching it and then going out and hopefully being better because of it, but also while finding the entertainment while watching it. It's become such a cultural icon. I'm so excited for the new seasons. And I hope all of us will really value and cherish what a gem of a show and a creation Phineas and Ferb really is. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you think makes the show great? What did I miss? And what do you hope they improve on in the coming seasons? Thanks so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and until next time, remember, there's no platypus controlling you.
There's no platypus controlling me. Well, it counts. It doesn't